Hi, I'm Chris from Visual Sorcery, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about the Groups panel in Lightforge. So the Groups panel is your main interface for working with your lighting rig. And I'm going to go fairly quickly through the basic operation of this, and then we'll get more in-depth and I'll show you how to actually create your own lighting setup here. So some of the fundamentals that you need to understand with this are how the group structure works. So if I select a fixture here and I turn it on, then as you can see, it's going to turn on. If I select a group and turn it on, all of the fixtures inside that group are going to turn on, and so on and so forth. And this holds true with anything that you're going to set on your lighting rig. So you'll also notice that as I'm making adjustments here, things are getting highlighted in orange. And what that means is that those values are being held currently. And when values are being held, they override whatever is happening on the queue list. And also, it's important to note what's being held, because those are the values that are going to get recorded into your queues. So you can also see in some of the other panels, like if I select this group right here, we can see, okay, color is being held as well as intensity, because both of these are highlighted in orange. So I'm going to go ahead and add a queue just to show you how this works with overriding. And as soon as you add a queue, it releases all of the overridden values, or the held values rather. And so you can see as I'm advancing through this queue, it's going to pull up what I was just working on. Now if I make a change on this and say I turn all of these blue, and I change here, it's going to hold those blue or cyan, I guess, values. And you see that the intensity is still going to change because I didn't make any additional changes to the intensity. If you look at the panel here, intensity is not being held. However, if I were to set it on like this group here, now as I move through here, everything's going to fade except for this this group right here. So that's the basics of how holding different fixtures works, and it's important to understand that because that's used throughout the system. So once you have held values, if you don't want to hold them anymore, you need to release them. So if I make a change to this and then decide, you know, I didn't really want to do that, I can select these two fixtures and I can either press this button right here, or I can press R on the keyboard, and that'll release them, and then they'll go back to whatever is they're being told to do, either in the queue or whatever a group above them is telling them to do. So right now, this group here is still telling them to be cyan. So if I don't want them to be cyan anymore, I can go ahead and I'm just going to release the color. So I can do that by mousing over the color panel and pressing R, and that will just release the color. Or if I wanted to release everything, I could just press R over this panel, and I'll do that. And that'll also release all of the groups inside of it. So there we go. Now this is back to whatever the queue is setting it to be. All right, so I think you have a basic understanding of how that works. Next thing that we'll do here is we'll just go and make a lighting rig. So I'm going to just hit new, and there we go. We have an empty rig now. So what you need to do in order to create a rig is enter into edit mode. And you can do that by selecting the group you want to edit and either pressing this cogwheel here or pressing enter on the keyboard. And when you're in edit mode, you'll see all of these grid lines. And the way that the groups panel does its layout is through a grid. And you'll understand this a little bit more as we go along. So I'm going to start by adding in two groups. So the first one is going to be intelligence. And I'll just keep that 4x4 columns and rows that's set to right now. So I'll hit OK there. And then I'll add in another group, and this will be called conventionals. All right, there we go. So what I'll do first here is I'll just drag these into position. So I'll drag this down here, and you see right now it's taking up one grid space. I want it to be a lot bigger than that, so I'm just going to click on this handle and drag it over to there. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a real simple rig. We're just going to do 4 intelligent lights on here. So I don't really need all 16 of these grid spaces, so I'm going to right click, go to edit, and then I'm just going to go ahead and set this to 1 row. So we only have 4 columns. That's all we need for this. Then I'm going to go to add fixture, and this brings up the patching dialog. So on this side of your screen, you'll see the different profiles. So what we'll use is a Martin Mac 250, and we'll just have these added in numerically. So I'll set the name to be 1, and then this allows me to set the universe I want it to be on and the address. So I'll actually have these start at address 50, and then I want to add in 4 of them, so I'll just increase my count to 4. And you see in this address panel here, everything highlighted is going to be assigned to this these fixtures that I'm adding in. Now, if I wanted to have these be offset by a couple of channels, I can change the offset, and you'll see it's adding in blank channels in between. I don't want that for this particular thing, so I'm just going to take this back down to 0. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit add, and there we go. It added in our 4 Mac 250s. All right, I'm going to close this for the moment, and then we'll add in some conventionals. So I'm going to add in 2 groups here. So first group is going to be front light, and let's say there's going to be 6 front lights. So let's add 6 columns, 1 row. There we go. And I'll go ahead and drag this here, and then we'll go ahead and add in another group, and we'll name this one backlight. And we'll just stay with the same 6 columns, 1 row. And then we can drag this. All right, we're set up. Now let's go ahead and add in some dimmers on this. So I'm just going to select generic dimmers, dimmer. And we'll just have these start at channel 1, and then we'll add in 6 fixtures here, and I'm just going to hit add, and then I'll select this group, and you see these were added sequentially, so it's going to start me at address 7. I'm just going to hit add again. All right, we're done. So I'll close this panel, and to leave edit mode, I we'll just select the main group, and I'll hit enter, and there we go. So I'll talk through a few more of the features of the groups panel, and then some shortcuts to make it easier to move around. So as far as the additional features go, one of the things that you should be aware of is locking. So if I turn all of my conventional lights on here, you can see in the DMX panel right here, all of these are on. If I lock these and then I release them, you'll see in here that they are all turned off. However, they're still outputting that full value, and that's because they're locked. So this is really handy for if you're working on a show and say you need to have the house lights on and you don't want it to get recorded into your queue. You can turn the house lights on, you can lock it, and then you can release that group. And then any changes that you make are not actually going to go out to the rig. They're just going to be in your workspace here, and they'll get saved. Like if I were to make adjustments here and save it into queues, they'll get saved into queues just as I'm editing here, but they won't go out to the rig. So that's really handy for that. I'm going to go ahead and turn these off hold or off lock and release them, and then we'll go ahead and show you some other handy features. So for selecting different things in your rig, there's a couple of ways to go about that. To select a single fixture, obviously you can just click on it and it will select it. If I want to select multiple fixtures, I can right click and that will add to the selection that I've got going. I can also use shift or control click to do the same thing. If I want to set up some presets to select multiple lights, I can select whatever lights I want to have as my preset. So we'll take those 6 lights, and then you can press Control and a number. So we'll do Control 1 for that, and then let's go ahead and select these 4 lights here, and we'll do Control 2. And then if I press 1 now, 1 will select all of those lights. It's a little hard to see here, so let me turn this down. So yeah, 1 just selects all of those. If I press 2, it will select all of those. And this is really nice to just create quick selections if you're using a bunch of fixtures repetitively, and it saves you having to go through and individually select 6 fixtures or 60 fixtures every time you want to make a particular thing happen. So that is essentially the groups panel. At a later point, I'll go in and show you how to actually create your own profiles and go in depth on that. But I think that that's it for now. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment or send me an email.